Okay.
Start sharing the screen. All right. Welcome to the Legacy Blueprint, how to tell your story like an epic movie to attract your solar-aligned clients in the next 90 days. It's starting not soon, but right now. Okay, so we're going to play all out today and we are going to have fun. Well, at least I am going to do my best to play all out and have fun. If you can't have fun, you won't learn it. If you can't learn, then I tell you what, you get distracted, right? And your goals seem to be further and further away from you. So just in order to play all out, I'm asking you to close all the tabs possible and to just self-mute through this process. Then I'm going to also ask you if you could just show, that you can click on a button and talk to my co-host and let him know that you're here. If you don't mind telling us, just put in the chat, storytelling. Just the word story, story, story. That's what we're covering today. Okay, so part of having fun is really getting involved in what you're doing and not being split into many different directions. I'm going to ask you that we just do a couple of house rules real quick here, okay? And that is close all tabs you may have open, and we'll ask you to focus over the next 90 minutes. I'm going to do my best to cover that in just that time and respect your time, and also to let you know that to stay on mute, but raise your digital hand like we just requested. If you could just type that in the chat, I appreciate that. Keep your camera on throughout the workshop. There'll be a moment when we ask you to close the camera so that you can focus on yourself and really get something that is of value. There are a couple of reasons why I would interrupt this call, and one of them is a little boy, my grandson. He's 2.5 years old, and so for him, he doesn't understand that Papa's working, and if he comes in, then I want him to know that he's important to me, and I would not, that's my open door policy, and I'll tell you more about that as we go along. Why I've made that a policy in my life, and that's part of my story. The second thing is that if my mom calls, she's in Florida, she's going through a situation right now. Well, for those of you that may not know, there's a hurricane, and so she's in a safe place up in the northern part of Florida. Nevertheless, if she calls, I'm going to interrupt this call. And if you're not okay with that, then this would be a great time to exit because we are recording. If you don't like recording, I'll see you later and we can just send you the replay. Not a problem. However, that being said, there are people that have stayed up. There are people that are coming from Africa, Israel, United States, Australia. And so to have a cohesive presentation, it's necessary for everybody to play all out. And those people also want to see, right? No, look, it's not just that. I want you to know how important you are as an individual. There is over 1,000 people that were invited, and just the people that are here are the ones that are present. And that says a lot for who you are. And I want to honor your time. I also want to honor the experience of all of us being involved. This could not happen if it had not been for a couple key people that are in my life, and that is a mentor. That is two of my mentors, Kane Novak from Australia and uh, James Foster from the UK. Both of these men have helped me immensely in such an incredible way. And so I want to honor them for teaching me how to speak from the depths of my soul and from emotions that are powerful yet not sound emotional. Okay, workshop overview. Here's how we're going to help you today. Why storytelling is a secret to attract solar-aligned clients. Okay, this is the number one piece, and why mastering tonality will draw dream clients into your story, and you'll see how that connects everybody into a deeper place, and how to tell your story like an epic movie in a way that attracts clients. And this is what great films use, and we'll talk about all of that in a moment. And it'll make sense to you how these people are able to draw so many thousands of people into one story, and they all use the same exact system. I'm going to show you that. All right. And so the bonus, this presentation is free. I'm not going to switch a beta on you and go, all of a sudden, I'm going to sell you something. So I'm not trying to sneak up and hit you with a Tupperware and go, here, buy this. Also, this is a moment where this bonus is a great deal of value. And again, I'll be telling you more about that later. But what you will know is that you're going to learn how to tell your story like an epic movie that will attract your Solar Line clients easier and faster than ever before. Okay, so you're ready to play all out. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, let's take off. Let me start by telling you a little bit about my own story. I grew up in a village where there was the house had holes, the floor had holes, and you had to sleep with a mosquito net and a sheet over the top so that the bat guano wouldn't hit you while you're sleeping, and then you had to tuck it on the side so that the creepy crawlers wouldn't get in bed with you. And I went from there. I achieved high levels of success over the years. I made over $7 million in sales, and I lost it all. And it wasn't just an accident. In the 80s and in the 90s, it was nothing but success after another success. I love my community. I also was a professional boxer. I was a professional entrepreneur. I owned horses. And on top of it, I was a professional soldier. That last picture here is me 10 years, probably about 37 years old. And the heights, actually, no, this is when I was, about 37 years old when I was recovering. This when I was just a young puppy as my buddy in the military, and there I was barely 23 years old. 10 years later, right? That was that other picture. Okay, so my story. Then one day in 1998, in one moment, my whole life gets changed because I fell off of a horse and I became paralyzed from the neck down. And you know what? They told me that I might never be able to walk again, that I never, and if I did, that whole side on my left side was going to stay that way. And so sometimes you have to hit rock bottom in order to recover and reach new heights, right? Somebody says to me about the splat, says all you got to do is just, go for it, crash, and get to the splat as quickly as possible. I was thinking, how do you recover from this? When my whole left side of my body was shrunk, I was fat, overweight, I had erectile dysfunction, I had hemorrhoids, I couldn't get out of bed, and I had to ask my children. Okay, I was on medication, a morphine medication for 4 years. My kids had to roll me out of bed. And it's okay for a couple of months, but why don't you try being a dependent of those that depended on you? And 4 years, anybody gets tired of that. That's not that, I'm not blaming it, but think about that. That's just crazy, right? And even after those 4 years, that was actually the easy part, because now began 21 years of emotional recovery. I truly believe God was pissed at me. Whatever or whoever you call God, think about, this little boy who, and I'll tell you more about that when we get to the hero's journey. It'll make more sense. My last visit from the chiropractor, okay, see, the accident that happened with the horses was one-time recovery, right? And then 4 years I got better. But then now I'm in North Carolina, and it's 2017, and I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm doing my own thing. And this, leaving the chiropractor after spending months of healing, because I had suffered another accident while working on a sailboat that was going to travel across the world. And, I was looking forward to being a part of that crew until I got my neck jammed up again. So I was building tiny homes over there. And on my last day of that chiropractor visit, recovering from my second injury in the neck, comes a third one. I get T-boned by a truck 3 times. And there I am. I wake up, I look around, and the door is busted, so I can't get out of that. I try to take the seatbelt off. I try to crawl across, I look at myself, nothing's bleeding, so I can move. And I go out. And then I wake up, I look around, I'm in an ambulance. Oh, okay. That was really bad. That made sense a little bit. And then I go out, I look around, I'm in a hospital. Look around again, I'm like, what in the world is going on? Think about that like a movie, right? These scenes, and then all of a sudden another scene, and you don't recognize any of them. You don't know whether you're dreaming or whether you're alive or what the hell is going on. And and so I go out again. I have no idea how much time has gone by. Oof, I still feel emotional telling you about this story. And so I'm in North Carolina, starting a new business. I don't know anyone. I have no insurance. I leave the hospital because of a friend that I made a connection with was kind enough to pick me up. Okay. I put my civilian clothes back on because they had me in that goofy robe, right? And now I get to my bed and there I am. Literally, I cannot get out of my own bed. I wake up in the morning and I wrap my hands around my neck. And, and I'm just going, oh God, how do I do next? And I'm slithering down the bed, holding my neck. I go down to my knees because I can't walk. Right. And so then I'm working my way over into the bathroom. I can't lift my legs. So now I'm, on my knees. So I lay sideways, put one foot, slip into the tub, turn it on with my clothes on. And I just crying just enough to get breakfast. And this goes on for about a week. And every time after that, I would dry up and, be able to move around because the tension in my body, I didn't have medication, right? So there was no insurance. And, and I would sit in the porch looking at this beautiful background on a house that I rented for $100, a whole house, $100 a month. And I would just cry. It took me 3 whole months to recover, but I learned something in that. You see, I learned that I'm resilient. I'm so freaking resilient. I learned that no matter what, I've been depressed, I've been alone, I've had moments where I didn't like myself. There was moments that I wanted to leave the earth. Sometimes it happened 2, 3 times, sometimes 15 times a day. And I mean it. Wanting to live your life and being trapped in your own body. It's not a fun trip. In this picture right here, I'm recovering and I'm a detox specialist and I've gone to school and I've become a fruitarian and I began to heal my body from the inside out. This is a dog that I use the things that I learned to keep this great thing alive, and that's why she looks so white because she's old as I am now. Um, she is in this case, she's 11 and a half years of age. And for any of you that knows about Great Dane, that's a very, very long time for Great Danes. They usually die at 9 years of age. Okay, but you see my story, but no matter what I'm going, I'll get up again. I'm going to do it again. That's what resilience is all about. And so the AF actually stands for acuity focus. That's the first secret that you need to know in getting your story so powerful. You see, when I was paralyzed for the first time, I would pick up one spot in my mind. That was me walking back into the ring and fighting. But that was me. Think of it. I'm 20 in this picture. That's 26 years that have gone by. Not when I was fat and out of shape. And it took me 25 years. But that image never left me. This guy right here earned 2 championship belts in his class. And I fought him about a month, 2 months before this moment. And I was 56 when that happened. Okay. That's a long road to hoe. That is a long trip to go through. I didn't know I didn't know it then, but I always went back to that same vision. I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know anything other than this one thing. I picked a spot and I was going to live because that's what makes me happy. I give no excuses for what I do, and I give no apologies for how I do it. That's me in that moment, right? And um, that song just came to mind. That's me in the corner losing my religion. That's a good song, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm telling you that I went from being, in my 30s completely paralyzed to being in my 50s having my gym. This is me recently in the gym in which I sparred that guy. I'm a martial arts instructor, so I went from being a completely quadriplegic, depressed, alone, angry veteran. That's what I used to be. And now there are parts of my life that I get to share with other people. My love for fighting, my love for surfing, my love for living a passionate life. And so all I knew was that single thought that I clocked into it. And that's how I got up from the floor. The first time I became paralyzed with the horse and I was rolled over, right? And I couldn't move. And I thought, holy crap, I'm a headless body. And then I realized that if I was breathing, I could still, that was an impossibility. The shock of the moment. But I focused on one thing and I kept talking to my body. And would not take an answer that wasn't what I was looking for. That's your secret number one. What turns you on so much that you say, no matter what, this is the thing that makes me and me alone happy? Not a selfish way, but you refuse to give that up no matter what. I was getting up, and because I was going to enter that ring, period. That's a fact. It's a fact now, but it wasn't a fact then, right? I eliminated all the noise so everything gets out of the way. That's this. And you're like, well, how do you do that? Well, you do minimum possible on everything else. You don't do minimum possible on your dream. You do minimum possible on everything else. And it's got to be the one thing that absolutely you're like, I don't care till the day I die. That's who I'm going to be. And that's how I want to show up because that makes me be me and make no apologies about that. Okay, one moment. Holding my neck in the tub and shaking because I was tired of crying. You know what? I had to eliminate all that noise and leave the past in a place where I could go visit. And that's why I had this picture here to remind me that my past still exists, but I'm not my past. And I can go visit anytime I want. I can pick up the memory and look at it and choose to do something and put it right back because my past is not me. It doesn't define who I am. My present defines who I am. My desire to be a better person in the future and bringing that future into the now, that is what defines me. It's not the pain in my body. It's pain of the soul of not being me. But that vision always remained, okay. And I was focused on it every day, a little bit, sometimes a lot of it, but it never left me. I just kept going back. And we'll talk about the North Star in just a moment. That's how you just keep going back. You've got to make an oath to yourself. Now I'm blessed to help others to share their story as a speaking storytelling coach. Okay. I am blessed to help others share their story like an epic movie. So they become their own hero. In your story, attract clients to you that resonates at your heart level. In a world that may appear so superficial at times, and we're at war, and people are trying to destroy us for who and what we believe in, to cut through the noise and attract clients that you resonate with, that they resonate with you at the same frequency through storytelling. Because we all have a story. Your story does not have to be mine, and it's not. But your story does have to have the 12 pieces that make it a beautiful story, an epic story worth telling. And this is me when I was just a 5, 6, 7-year-old. Okay. This is the moment when kind of trauma starts hit you, right? But this is me as an old, I like to call myself old man. I'm very proud of that. I was 56 years old here, and I'm by a river in a beautiful experience that I had as a coaching senior coach and in a fight camp for a boxer that we trained for months. I was living in a Indian reservation, and this river is a very holy place, and that was a nation that stood on its own, and they still worked the warrior code. It was absolutely amazing. One day I can tell you a whole beautiful story of all the experiences of the people, the old people, the young people, and how they're raised, and how beautiful it is to be raised in a culture of strength. And so that that was me probably on my last day there. Okay, so why storytelling is so important? Think about it for just a moment. Why is that so important? Is it just a technique? Is it just something that you do because that's what everybody tells you to do? Or is it much more deeper than that? Your story wraps your story, your messaging, your branding into one solid story. It wraps the offer. What offer? Because it's not you making an offer to somebody, it's them saying, I heard a word inside that story of yours that resonates with me, and I want more. And that's why they say this. See, when you speak to a specific tribe of people with such deep way that they are pulled right into you. They literally call you out. They don't, you're not you calling them. They go, oh my God, I've been there. I totally relate to your situation. I get it. So you don't need to chase no one to speak to you. You hear what I said? You don't need to chase somebody so that they can have a conversation with you, because that feels sleazy. They will come to you and they say, let's have a conversation. And you have these incredible moments. The words are streaming on a guitar of their heart that resonates with their dreams and your ideal clients. That's what's happening. In my own story, there was a lot of shame and guilt and all kinds of other emotions. I've been, um, I've been trained to be a mercenary, and I had done things, and I was not no longer that same human being that I thought I was because of the experiences that I had. But when you craft in such a way that holds the truth, but you know, and it invites them into a conversation. And so everything else is possible because they desire it. When they get that message in the bottle from that island of isolation, they live by themselves in isolation, right? They're all, you know, just leave me here with my own emotions. Nobody can see me on this side of the world. But guess what? That's not the case, because when somebody sends that message, it's because it resonates with them in a deep way. Okay, so why is emotion important in storytelling? Let's connect these pieces. Think about why emotion is so important. It's because we swim in an ocean of emotions. And the reality is that we don't realize how powerful this is. Everything around you right now, around your space, didn't exist hundreds of years ago. There's not the possibility of us being together from different parts of this planet was an impossibility. And we are now united without having to travel to have a heart coherence moment. You see, 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements on a daily basis are trying to pull away from you your emotions. And when that happens, when you wake up in the morning, you're whole, and then you go through life, and the next thing you feel, you're completely tired. But you know why? Because everybody's trying to pull on your emotions for some reason or another. So see, feelings of success, failure, guilt, shame, happiness, bliss, the list goes on and on and on. The emotional context of this story is that we have a frequency that speaks to our ideal clients in a way that provides hope. See, we're emotional creatures. We think it's all about the brain, but it's not. We separate the brain from the heart in order to protect our own emotions. And when we do that, you tell a story, and when you tell the story the right way, those emotions connect you to your heart. So if you're trying to get away from your emotions, you don't connect. You stay stuck in the brain. These feelings that you are connected inside of you makes you a whole person. And when you're a whole person, it's easy to want to connect. Otherwise, you're separated and you think you're doing something when you're doing something else, and people can pick up on that energy. So because of all of that, I want to tell you that the Epic Story method is the process by which I'm going to break this down and give you the pieces. So we're going to talk about first your current story, then we're going to talk about your future story. So your current story is the one that you exist now, but the future is what you want and how to grab that future, bring it into your present, how to heal the past and bring it into your present so that you can be present in yourself, in your wholeness, and be presence itself. You bring your presence, and that is how this is happening. You take your future, you bring it here. You take your past, you bring it here, and you show up in the fullness of who you are. So now, the third step is sharing the gap, right? How do we take that gap and we share it without it sounding fake? You have got to believe in yourself so much. And then the actionable steps. I want to talk about how detailed is the 12 steps of, not the 12 steps of recovery, but the 12 steps of being able to tell your story like it's an epic movie. And the last piece is how to make a commitment to yourself. And that one thought that says, I'm going there, that's it. Okay. So what is your current story? Your current story, you might be a business person, you might be, a mentor. I know there's a lot of you guys that are mentors, you guys are coaches, you're doing things, you're authors, you've written books. There's some incredible people here, by the way, doctors. Like I said, people from all over the world. There's people with high degrees, and there's people with an even higher commitment to give their heart and soul to the world. So find yourself. Where are you right now? Are you somewhere where you say, you know what? I'm not there yet. So your story and your mistakes are pieces of this puzzle that we're going to put together right about now. If you're a business owner, the story that you tell yourself why you're in business is most likely a story that you're trying to live out because it's what was handed to you. 90% of people are doing things parents or loved ones should have been doing. And we're still trying to solve those issues. When you're not showing up for themselves, you have to learn to show up for yourself. Because you know what? Any negative experience you're experiencing in your life is controlling your future and affecting your present. So the true expression of your soul is having all those pieces put together. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong and you're in the wrong business. It means that you are doing business in the wrong way. Capture that, because you could be doing something to please people that are no longer around the earth. Think about that. The story you should be telling is who I am, how I'm expanding my being with everything I do, and with a relationship first, business second. That's an ethos. I told you that the reason why is because I would talk about my grandson, and the reason why is because I made millions of dollars and I sacrificed my family. That's what's true. And I didn't do it once, I did it 3 times. All the money that I had went away when my money went away, so did the relationships. Because I had them based in the wrong perspective. And guess what? I attained what the world told me to attain. I attained what my parents couldn't. I passed all my family. I own more land than my family put together. All of it was gone. And so were my so-called relationships. And because I was putting business in front of relationships, I wasn't living my legacy. And that's why I call this the legacy blueprint. And if you really understand that, let me tell you what, you can change your life today. You can make a decision and make that your single one thing and take off and change your life so that you don't lose what you have already attained. And I'm not saying that you will. I'm just saying that in my story, I lost it not once, but 3 times. When you have the right relationship and you tell your story from that place of joy inside of you, you know what happens? That feeling inside your chest, at least in my solar plex, the point I even question that you're even having a out of body experience. I feel it right here, and it just kind of tingles right across my nipples, and my shirt just, and then it just goes down my belly, and it curls up my shoulders. And maybe you don't feel it that way, but I'm telling you how I do. And sometimes the people that I'm with, because some of you are on this and here today, you've experienced that, and you're having a conversation so that you might even call it, am I in heaven? You're having an out of body moment, meaning you're lucid, you're in 2 dimensions all at the same time, and you know it. What would you call it if life is just living that in the most basic form? But we save it for some futuristic moment. We save it for some special moment when you can have that every day. Build a business with that energy. What kind of customers would you have? Think about what I'm saying. If you build a business based on that, what kind of customers would you have? And what kind of world would we arrive to? This is not science. This is not rocket science. This is not, difficult. It's just you being you in such an incredible way that this is what you bring forth, and you stop chasing somebody else's dream. Tell you what, the first step is to align your soul, align clients, is to tell your soul aligned stories, the things that make you you. But it all starts inside of you. That ugly story that you may be reluctant to tell, it's actually your story that you need to bless and change into something new. And then you need to paint it with your own flavor. And you need to paint this trailer so that people can go, wow, that's amazing. And when you wake up every morning, because you tell your story to yourself, I discovered that the ugly part of me was a part I needed to love the most. I was a soldier. I grew up in a ghetto. I knew how to do violence very well. I was good at fighting. I was really good at surfing. And I was good at being a soldier. And I wanted to be a great father. But something happened on the path. And I was turned into something that I wasn't. The business that really succeeds are those that are in alignment with you, right? Think about anything that you purchase. You buy them for one reason, not because you're forced. This was well documented in the popular book by Simon Sinek, Start with the Why. But you got to go deeper than that to tell your story, like an epic movie. And so business is not about business. Your story is so powerful that someone will tattoo your story on their body. That's telling a story so powerful. The first time I heard this was a lady during COVID that said that she had a sports, what do you call it, a fitness place. And some of the members started tattooing the logo on their body, and it became a cultural thing. That's crazy when you think about that. Why people would do that. And I'm not advocating tattooing. I'm just telling you that when you tell your story from that deep place that I'm talking about, when you tell that story and you fall in love with who you are, because you see, I've done bad things and I was ashamed of, and I had to redeem that. in order to look at myself and go, look at all the cool things that I've done. I was ugly to me. I want you to know that. I was ugly to me because my body had recovered, but my mind was still stuck on that ugly place. And I was no longer that same person. So I once told a client I was training to be a professional, um, you know what? We don't evolve. That doesn't exist. We elevate. So I told this to my client. I said, because all we are is a one-winged angel looking for a partner. He told me, that's so powerful. I'm going to tattoo that on my body. And then I want your hand written signature. And so that's what this picture is. It's him showing me the first time that he wrote this. And then he was asking, he was going to put it one specific place and he was trying to shrink it down. Anyways, that was the story behind that. When you tell your story, so powerful, words come out of your mouth that you change people's life forever. And that is what that story is all about. You see, business creates a life unto its own, and that's how people have some names for some companies, right? Like uh Kleenex. That's not the name of the company. That's the product. And it became so clear that everybody knows what I mean when I say the word Kleenex. And if you don't, let me know. We'll let you know what it actually means. Okay? It takes a life on its own. So think about your earliest childhood memory, okay? This is a moment where I want you to take an activity. Please turn your cameras off for just a moment and listen to my voice. Just take a real deep breath. If you have your eyes closed, whether you're standing, sitting, it doesn't matter. Just close your eyes for just a moment. Take a real deep breath. Hold it at the top as long as you can. Breathe in a little bit more and just feel the pressure across your chest. And don't let it out yet, but when you breathe out, I want you to relax all your muscles and just let your head droop as you breathe out and let it all come out of your lungs. Now, from that place, take a small pause and breathe in deeply. And just keep breathing at the very top and at the very bottom of your lung capacity. And think about your earliest childhood memory as you have the cameras off. And I'm not asking you to relive that moment. I'm asking you to tell yourself how old you are. Put it in, when you wake up from this, when you open up your eyes, just put it in the chat how old you are. What is it? What age? It's usually somewhere around that age 5. And my question to you is, why is it that our earliest childhood memory to 0 to the day that we're born, we can't remember? If you can't remember those pieces and it's a jumbled thing, I'm telling you, drama and trauma sits there, and your identity, your true identity, is hidden in that story. And that's why you got to go to that dark side and find it and be able to open it up in a safe place with hopefully with somebody that knows how to do this. And you're doing that's what I mean by safe. So you don't fall apart. And there you, anyways, here's the whole thing about that. I'm simply telling you that that age till that moment is hidden. That's the past. And when you heal that, then you can go to your future and you can pull your future into your present. And when you take them both, now you become unstoppable because you begin to smile with not only just your mouth, but your whole face and your whole body. So thank you for participating. If you could just open up your eyes and put in the chat, how old were you at that moment? Your future story. You see, your future story is that thing that you want to become. Your future story tells an epic story when you tell the audience where you're going. You paint it in such a powerful way that what you're doing, where you're going, what you're about to do, with a level of certainty that you absolutely know. You take your audience on a journey with you, not because you're forcing them, because they want to participate and they want to know. They want to watch your thoughts play out because you know how you are and where you're going. You know who you are, how you are, when you are, and where you're going. Not your culture, not the thoughts of the era in which you exist, not the thoughts of your fathers and mothers, not even the thoughts that you have about God and whether it's limiting or expanding. It doesn't matter. Nobody else but your thoughts. When you can get to that place where you pinpoint that one spot where you so acutely focus on what it is that you want and how you want to live that life. The expression of the experience and the experience of the expression of that particular expression is an experience in itself. That's what I mean by pinpointing. I wanted to go walk into that ring again. And it took me 25 years to get there. But I got there after being paralyzed. Okay, so, but how do you do that? How do you, not me, I'm already telling you what I did. The question is, how do you do that? When everything else is telling you otherwise, when your body, right, everything is telling you, nah, that's not going to happen. Maybe you failed a million times. Your body's struggling to take, to take you, but it doesn't matter because that energy in the pit of your stomach starts bubbling up, filling all the way through your body, up in your solar plex. And it fills your body like a wave of energy. I want to live and express that experience that I'm having as a child and as in the body of an adult. When you take your audience on that journey, those who are watching want to see how it plays out. It's as simple as that. Even the stories that may not seem relevant to your business at the moment, like this picture right here. Like when I take my son surfing, um, and so there's a there's a misnomer here, right? And surfing and two fathers, yeah, well, it isn't. And two fathers look at each other, stating, um, on a board. Let me tell you what that means. You see, it's a long story and I want to make it really short, but there was two fathers, me and another father. And he was a surfer and I was a surfer and he had not surfed for 15 years. And I went back to surfing just 2 years ago for the first time in Wisconsin. This is Wisconsin, guys. Okay, these waves are there. That's my grandson. He's 14 years old. There's my daughter on the same day that's 34 years old. And there's my other son who is 26 years old. And I want to tell you that before this picture, my 26-year-old son and I were surfing, and this was the first time, and this is the first time I taught him. But when you have a mentor, somebody that can support you and help you work through your chaotic mindset and through all those fears, you know what happens? You're able to succeed so much quicker. And there I was, a 26-year-old. But you see, there's something special about this 26-year-old. Catch this, because this is a powerful story all into itself. I got him when he was 18 months old, and he was already addicted to cocaine and alcohol. His mother had 14 kids. That's not a mistake. She had several sets of twins, and that's how she got to 14 children. When she gave birth to my son, Caleb, they told me he would never be independent, that he would never be able to walk. And you know what? That's that kid, that 26, is standing here with me, surfing. And then he says, hey, Dad, it feels like heaven. See, it's your values, your beliefs that become non-negotiable, which means when there are two businesses who offer the same services, people are not deciding on who to invest. They're deciding on whose story they're going to be a part of. That's the point I'm trying to make. People buy Nike because they want to be a part of somebody's story. So what's your story like? That's the power of sharing your story with your audience. So one more. Let's do a visualization, okay? What is your call to adventure? Yours, not mine. If you will, please turn your cameras off so you can be comfortable in seeing yourself. Close your eyes and listen to my voice. Imagine that you're standing on a hill, a little loam. It's not that big. It's probably about 6 feet off the ground, and there's all this grass. And the grass is this beautiful color, whatever color you want to give it. I say it's fresh wheatgrass growing, or clovers. And in the distance, far away, you see a little tiny little silhouette that you can make out, the tiniest silhouette that you can make out. And it's a horse eating. And that horse, while you have your eyes closed, lifts up his head and it's looking directly at you. And it's very far away, but you can see the movement, and it begins to run and gallop towards you. It just took off like a bullet for no reason. And all of a sudden, you can feel the vibration of the hoofs hitting the ground. You can feel them, but you can't hear them yet. And now you hear them. It's coming closer, and it's full gallop. And it's 100 feet away, 50 feet away from you. It's 30 feet away from you. Full gallop. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't slowed down, not even a little bit. And then 6 feet away from you, and it stops. And there it stands, and it goes to eating again. And as you look at this horse that just went back to rest moment and eating, you start to see the veins just pop, and just the vascularity on this horse is incredible. And the beads of sweat begin to build up. And then the glistening sun over his sweat and his nostrils. Maybe not his, but the nostrils are blaring out and closing. And he's still just managing to be very calm. I'm going to ask you, what are you experiencing as you see and you look at this horse? What do you see? What do you experience? What do you feel? What kind of emotion, what kind of thoughts come to your mind? And I want to tell you that that horse is, in fact, a representation of you, because we have all our stories and everything about ourselves outside of us. Okay? You can open up your eyes and turn your cameras back on. You see, that horse is your soul's call to adventure inside your life, to connect to every emotion. That horse didn't do nothing except be a horse. And horses like to eat, they like to crap, and they like to run. That's it. And then breed, of course. Who doesn't? But because it was being itself, it was a call to an adventure. You are like that. You just got to pull and the pieces, put them together, and all the branches, and then that becomes a beautiful adventure that you get to fall in love with, your own story. So what's the gap? The gap is a space in between where you're at now and that future. And can you draw them together? Okay? The gap is closed by the North Star of your story, not mine. This is what people want to know. This tells your audience about your values, your beliefs, and much more. This is the difference in between goals, SMART goals, and all that other BS. Your North Star can only be made by you. You see, there's many little pieces of light in the world, and everybody has their own. And join this success team and do that. And you know what? Do this other thing. All you got to do is pick one of those stars. Pick one. Go ahead. See them in the picture? Pick one. Now, focus on this picture. Let me read this and then I'll tell you what this picture is. Take a quick look. I know at least one of you knows exactly what we are looking at here. But I'll tell you what, this is your North Star. When you have a North Star, that is a blueprint for your story. Every word is pregnant with your energetics. It is a skeleton that actually breathes. It's not rigid. It's moldable. but it's still a skeleton. And when you tell people about your North Star, if they're breathing and then if they're conscious to some level, they're going to take a pause at the very least and say, wow, this picture right here, because I'm an iridologist and a detox technician, I'm telling you, this is what I see in a healthy eye. When you look at somebody's eye, there's a map of health. And the further that they are from health, emotional, physical, and metaphysical, it'll show up in the strands of the eye. And if you can pick one of these little lights, each one of them represents an idea, an emotion, a feeling. That line that goes from the bottom and it looks like a river connects there's two nerves on your eyeballs, right? Attached to them, called the optic nerve, and they cross each other in the middle of your brain so that your left eye is connected to your right eye and your right eye is connected to your left brain, right? And so when they crisscross, information is being transferred back and forth. Each one of those lights is exactly the river that's inside of you that goes all the way down your spine. And when you focus with clarity, that's what I did. I picked one of those little lights and I said, this is the one I'm going to hold on to because this is the one that brings me light. You become light with your voice, and then those that are awakened react to that message and go, I want that North Star. I want a part of that, like I was saying earlier. And so they can't help it. It's you at your best in your own story as they feel the emotions coming from you, like you're sharing a Hollywood movie. But it's your life, and it's a beautiful, vibrant one. Okay, you see, you will see it in their face. Some people get all angry, some people get all happy, some people pretend that you're not talking to them. Have you ever asked somebody if they're happy and they say yes, and you're like, why don't you tell your face? Because your face doesn't look that way if you're happy. And if your mouth says it, can you smile with all your face, with your eyes, and with your whole body, like a child does? That is what waking up every morning, knowing that you are in soul alignment with your own story, makes you feel like. You wake up and you're like, can it be any better? I feel absolutely freaking beautiful, great, and ready. Like a child, they jump out of bed, they're ready for the day. That's unification of yourself. Okay, you'll know when your story has impacted them because they can't hide it. You'll see it in their face. They feel it all over their body, just like you're experiencing it. And that's the magic of humanity. We swim in an ocean of emotion. And this is why we are connected one to another. So now, how to find out where you're at so that you can fill the gap. Okay, here's the workshop. Here's the workshop part of the workshop. Hero's journey. This is what every great story has that a movie that has ever been told uses these 12 steps. So there's a man named Joseph Campbell. He created this thing, and you can look it up by that name, either the title or his name. Excuse me. So what happens is that there's 12 steps, just like there's 12 months of the year. You know what? There's 12 months in Hebrew, in Spanish, and in English, as far as I know. So there's saying something here. This has worked for Star Wars. Lucas learned it from Joseph Campbell. And so there is, everybody that puts an epic movie, they have all of these dialed in. And that's why you are attracted to that story. And if you can find where you are dialed into it, where you're at, because we all have at least one of these areas completely taken care of. You're already a success. All you got to do is find out where you're successful at, know what needs to be fixed on the other step, and where you want to go for the next step, and bam, and you keep moving forward until you get them all dialed in. Okay, so where are you in your journey as a hero? Okay, This is how you draw every movie. So let's do this really quick. Follow me. My story, okay? I'm going to say it so that you have a context on where you could find your spot. But first of all, I want you to know that there's the known world is only like 1/3 of all of them. The unknown world is 8 of them below a space that is the subconscious. And so that's why you consciously have to connect to that. For me, the start was when I was a little 9-year-old boy and I looked up God and whatever it is that you think God, idea is at 9 years of age and you have that call to adventure. And I said, I want to be a father just like you. All right. And then you get that moment where you meet that mentor. In my life, it was a teacher who was sitting in a room in biology and he stops me and he tells me a story, start asking me question about energy and about, being that cannot be destroyed. And so his story of what he taught me that one moment, because he wasn't my teacher, he was just somebody who stopped and asked me a very deep question, a very personal question. And I can still see him just as I'm talking to you. My mind goes to that one place, full beard, gray hair, just like I am right now. So he must have been about, 50 years of age. And so he became that mentor that still speaks deeply into my soul. That was the call of venture was I was 9 years old. But guess what? When I was 10 years old, my dad leaves and says, you're the father now of the house. You're the man of the house to 5 sisters. And so I had to go to work. And that's where this whole thing develops, right? And then you cross the threshold. Crossing the threshold for me was when I decided that I wanted to have my own family and I wanted to succeed. But the trials and the failure, you know what that was? In my life, 3 divorces, 3 marriages, being paralyzed from the neck down, you know, making all that money. Those were things that I was trying out. And then comes a helper and you get to the growth and the new skills. For me, that was being a foster father, an adopted father, a mentor and a guide to others. And so I've touched the lives of at least 40 children, and 2 of them are my biological children that call me dad. And because I felt like I had failed before, that's why I said, if my grandson opens that door, I'm going to attend to him because it matters to me. I had to die in order to be born again. That's why I told you about the splat. In my case, you know what it was? I had to die to my own personal pride of being able to be this big superhero in my own life. The money, you name it, the cars, the Porsche, the trucks. I own 13 horses. I've owned over 62 acres. That's a lot of land. I had to die to that. And then I became the shadow in my own story because I made an oath to be all of these things and to and I promised to United States to the flag, to Mama's apple pie, that I would take on the Constitution of the United States and I would park it, that I would not give myself the freedoms of that Constitution, but that I would defend others while I did not have mine. And I thought that was the greatest thing, but that turned me into a monster, into something that I wasn't. A soldier, and I didn't know how to deal with that. I was afraid, and my kids were afraid, and I had to die to that image of success until I got to revelation that at 55 years of age, for the very first time, I stopped thinking that I'm ugly, and I saw myself for being a beautiful man. I couldn't see the success in my own stories, and you might be there. And you're like, I can never be over there because of XYZ. That's the story you're telling yourself. I'm talking about the story that you need to live by. That revelation for me is that I'm a beautiful man. And I've done a lot of good for a lot of people. I'm not the monster they told me I was. And so the final changes is when I began to talk about my emotions and my fears and my shame and my resentment from a place where I took the darkness and I beat it back until it bled light, and I bend it by the force of my will. And so that it's no longer darkness, but is returning light. And I can share that with people. My atonement then is that where I help others. I might look at somebody that you don't know and then they're not for you, but I look at them and they're in pain, and they were me when I was a young man full of pride and full of ego and thinking that money did everything. I get to talk to them and I say, I see you. I see you. I know that you're pretending to be an asshole, but the fact is that you're just afraid because you don't know if you're lovable enough. You don't know what the future holds, and that scares you. Yeah, I'm talking to me. I'm not talking to you. Those people that are present, I'm talking to my earlier self. And I'm saying those things because I know what it is to be that kind of man, to be thinking that all you had to do is just be a freaking hero, be the hero in your own journey. Now I make atonement and I help others in that process. You see, then you get the gift. And it's not the gift of gab, but it's the part that you start speaking from a voice so deep inside of you that it no longer is just words. It's no longer a technique. It's not messaging. It's your soul being spoken. And you speak with power and authority because you've been there, and no amount of certifications can get you that. I got plenty of them. Believe me, I can fill this room on at least 2 other walls with certificates, probably 3 of them easily. But that didn't, the gift is when you can operate from love, wanting to give it to somebody else so that they can have that same level of love in a way that it cannot be repaid. Then you return a completely changed person. And that's what I'm talking about, because I have gone through the cave of fears and I put myself on the anvil of the crucible of my life. And I decided that I will no longer be miserable. You get that? I chose life and I chose to live it at the highest level. And then comes the end. And if you're at the end, you just get to start all over again. Because life is beautiful. Life is worth living. We just got to take personal responsibility with our own life and forget everybody else. I hope this is making sense to you. And if it is, and if you have questions, please put them in the chat. So where are you in your journey, in your hero's journey? Pick a spot. And now you know where you're at and in terms of the hero in that circle and where you're going to go from there. How you're going to get there, that's a different story. So actionable steps, right? What action can you take today to make a difference? You've already done it by showing up. You've already done it by marking where you're at and where you want to be, by daring to tell your story to yourself first with an incredible, powerful way. If you take these 3 secrets that I'm sharing with you, guess what? Those are the action steps. And so you got to first hook them. And I'm not talking about a hook like this. I'm talking about how do you hook somebody in? You hook them by being honest with your own feelings. You stop telling, start feeling your words. What? Yeah, start feeling your words. How do you keep somebody listening to you? When you can tell your story with emotions without being emotional and all over the place and you talk about a million different things, you stay focused. You tell a story of romance. It's your romance. You being kind to your own soul. That's how you keep them listening. How do you tell a story in a way that makes your dream client resonate with you? Here we go. Ready? Your heart is 5,000 times stronger than the brain waves. Your dream client will feel you telling your story, your truth, that someone has no choice but to pay attention to your story. This is so powerful because it's based on tonality. And I'm not talking about just the gimmicks of talking really low and talking really powerful and all this other stuff. That's a part of it. But I'm talking about a different tonality. Listen to what I'm about to say here, because this is important. If you take this one home, you get all the other pieces to put together. Tonality is everything. If you close your eyes right now, you can pick the voice of anger. You can pick up on it. You can pick up on the difference in between a wholehearted laughter, a sinister laugh, somebody crying, out of fear versus out of anger. Tonality is emotions. Tonality comes almost natural when you become kind to your own soul. It can be trained and anybody can do it. I learned how to do it, but I needed some healing too. It all comes back to tonality. Mastering tonality is the secret to all that puts it all together. Tonality has a rhythm and an emotional beat. So when I used to train horses, I still do, but I don't train it as much. I train the particular horses. It's called a gaited horse, where there's a little bit less up and down bounds. The Puerto Rican horse has no up and down bounds, and it's natural. But in order for you to bring it out, you have to teach the horse how to keep its own rhythm. Okay, and it's called a 4-beat canter, just or a 4-beat count, just like the cylinders on a car. Okay. A horse walks and gallops with that same sound. Taka, 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 taka. That's walking, right? And then when they're galloping, it's taka, 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 taka. It's a 4-beat. But in order for me to train the horse, I had to control its energy, push him, and do all these different things while still being neutral in him on the horse. And so when the horse gave ear, meaning there's a term that we used to use in Spanish because the horse has its own beat and its own rhythm in the hoofs, and you teach the horse to listen to its own rhythm, then I was done. And that's called giving ear. The horse now knows its own pace to keep. Everyone has their own rhythm. The way you speak is the way you speak. All you got to do is add tonality. And then when you have a coach says, yeah, that's you. You showed up right there. Oh, you just lost it. That's not you no more. See, that's the power of a trainer, of a coach, of a mentor. That's what I learned from horses, how to do that. So here, you have to make a commitment to yourself. Do you want to stay where you're at? Or do you want to go to that place that is all about you in a good way, not a selfish way? You are the person that matters the most in your life. Think about this. In your life, no matter what you do, a mother, a father, a wife, a husband, um, you and you alone are the one experiencing every situation. So shouldn't you matter enough to make a commitment to yourself to be happy? It's important to keep the promises you make to yourself. You showed up today. You kept the promise. When you said you were going to be here, you sent your energy forward. And one of the beautiful things about humans is that you're capable of traveling through time. Okay, you are capable of traveling through time. Do you hear what I'm saying? You can go to the past, you can go to the future, you can go to, and there the train's coming, so let's all jump on the frequency train. See, you can make yourself think about this, right? The power of humans is not communication, because animals can do that, plants can do that. It's not language, because animals can do that too, and computers can do that. So what's the power of a human? That's so different. And I know that here it says commitment to self. So that was you know, it wasn't done on purpose, but it was done with purpose and it wasn't corrected. So, forgive me. This is why I would recommend that you make a commitment to yourself to share your story. Find your rhythm so that you can entangle people to a quantum level with your dream clients, or your message resonates with them on their frequency. Let me show you how. Okay. So please give me a check to see if you can hear this in 3, 2, 1. This is nothing but sound. There's a speaker there. And they're going to put sand or salt. And they're going to change the frequency. The function generator, which creates frequency. Tone, tonality. You're literally sending these out in your voice. The more connected you are to yourself, you begin to vibrate like that. We went from low frequencies to higher frequencies. Get the picture? You see, so what's your question? What's a burning question? What would it take to finally share your story? Forget about all the questions, all the other questions that are before you. What you're going to eat, what you're not going to eat, where you're at, what time it is, blah, 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 what people think of you. But when are you going to tell your story in such a powerful way that you can fulfill all those 12 steps? How bad do things have to get before I share my story to attract soul-aligned clients? And I say bad is because in my experience, we as humans have a tendency to wrap ourselves around suffering. See, pain is not optional. Listen to what I'm saying to you right now. Pain is not optional. Suffering is. And every moment that you are disconnected from yourself, from your future, and from your past, you are not aligned internally. And therefore, you're divided. And if you're divided, people hear a different kind of frequency that makes no sense. And they're like, that sounds good, but maybe tomorrow, not today, because it doesn't resonate. Get it? So what does it take for me to position myself for success, regardless of what anyone else has? Stop letting other people tell you what success looks like. Dare to believe you have the answer for your success. I'm not saying that you're the only one that needs to work on it. I'm saying you know exactly where you want to be. Describe exactly what that success looks like. Go beyond, asking why. Ask how you want to show up and touch people's life. It's not just enough to say why. You got to say something much deeper. How are you going to love people and change your lives in such a way that it's to their benefit? So what does it take for me to step into that arena? What does that look like? You have to have a picture. That's part of having a commitment to yourself. So the activity right now is to write a commitment to yourself to become the person you described in your story today when you found yourself. Okay? So begin by saying, I commit to becoming the future me in my story. If you just write that alone and you could just put that in the chat, you know what? You're making a commitment to yourself and you're keeping yourself accountable and you dare to show up and say it with clarity. But let's take that to a deeper step, okay? In order to do that, I just want to tell you one more thing. In order for you to do that, you have to create this beautiful blueprint manifesto. And I'm going to talk about the power of that creation in just a quick moment. Summary. We talked about a lot of things, and we talked about the common pain and the common areas in which we all live in, right? And so now at the end, we're going to moment to have some Q&A. But before we get into the Q&A, I want to ask you one more thing. If you've gotten what you came for and it's met your expectation, and I have fulfilled why storytelling is a secret to attract your soul-aligned clients, okay? And why mastering tonality will draw your dream clients into your journey, and how to tell your story like an epic movie in a way that attracts clients. So I'm asking you that you go to this next level. I believe I've covered all these three. The bonus will be revealed at the end to help you tell your story like an epic movie, to attract the soul clients in an easier and faster way than ever before. So how are you going to do that? What is the bonus? Look, I told you this was free. I want to help you get to that place. All right. No agendas. I'm going to share with you in just a moment how to make that happen. But here you go. We've reached that point. We're about to close, right? You can ask your questions, but you got two options. Continue doing it alone, and if that's working for you, congratulations. And I want to see you and celebrate with you at the top. You have the other option, which is to find somebody that you can trust, that can get you to that place, that you can build a relationship with. And there's many somebodies at times in your life, but you got to start somewhere. Find the spot, look at the gap, and decide what you need next. That's 12 different types of what do you call it? Mentors that you can have in your lifetime to help you through all of that. So here it is, my reveal. As a thank you for attending the workshop and staying to the end, I would love to give you my signature storytelling client creation. This is an experience. It's a 60-minute call. This is over $500 worth of per individual that I'm giving to you for showing up, for playing all out, for staying to the end. So we can explore your story and how you can share that story in such a way that will start attracting clients. I commit to being in service to you and exploring how to make the next chapter one in total alignment with your soul. And there's no better time than now, because we're already moved into some holidays, right? And we're at the end of 2024. Do you want another repeat and a slow growth, or do you want the kind that your clients are saying, hey, I'm here? And this storytelling client creation will help you immensely. And so make sure to book your story client creation experience. And I realized that I did not pass the link. So I'm going to put it in the chat. And then what I need you to do before you go is that before we get into the Q&A, is that you go ahead and register on my calendar, pick a date, and then come back after you just click on this and you just come back and say, hey, you know what? I did. So let's open up for questions in just a quick moment. Let me get that link for you. And again, I was supposed to have done that already, but I didn't. And let's put that in there right now. It won't take much. Hello, everybody. I get to see your beautiful faces now for the very first time. And okay, okay, here we go. And so hopefully we take a moment to write the actual questions that you may have. And how about that? I'll be there in just a quick moment. All right, here we go. Come back to Techno World, and it's in the chat. Please pick a time and then put in the chat when you did. And here it is for everybody. Okay. Okay, Jeremy, it's nice to see you. Valerie, Lorraine, I haven't seen you in a while. And my guy, Chris, how you doing? Hi, Stacy, you made it. Oh, how beautiful. My guy, Jeremy, nice to see you, brother. Lots of love for you. And so go ahead and book. There we go. Thank you, Lorraine. Locked it in. Thank you so much. Sorry, you're welcome, Sari. All right. Lock it in, Sari. Come on. Put it in. Yeah, absolutely, Lorraine. Valerie, thank you. You're much welcome. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Morcire.
It
Thank
doesn't
you.
look like you shared the link, Hector.
I didn't?
I'm not seeing it in the
Ah,
chat.
okay. How about now? How about now? Doesn't go?
No, not yet. Nope.
Well, waiting from, okay, let me see how do I do this again. Technology, I gotta love it. All right, so where is it? Where do I type this in, guys? Huh,
In the Valerie's mentioning that in the chat box where you go to type,
yeah.
there's a blue button. It could be sending something to someone in
Oh, saying
particular,
into
but
the,
at the
yeah,
top, make sure
thank
it says
you.
everyone
There
in
you
meeting.
go. Everyone in the meeting. How about
There you
now?
go.
Did that work?
Perfect.
Shoot.
That was good.
Man, I got saved. Susan, how you
Thank you,
doing?
Valerie.
My God, Susan, it's so nice to see you. It's been a long time. Valerie, thank you so much for your techno help.
Got
Uh,
to give Valerie the applause because
yes, sir. Yes,
moderator.
sir. So beautiful, beautiful. Okay, we got that fixed, and that's why. Nikki, there you are, girl. Didn't see you. How beautiful. Maybe because my screen doesn't see everybody. Okay, so questions. I got answers, and if I don't, I'll make them up. Any questions about what was covered? Hmm.
Valerie says, can you please explain atonement?
Yes, thank you. Okay. Atonement. Okay. Let me close this so we can see you in the face, so I can see you. Um, Atonement is not out of guilt or shame, but it's the best way to say it is to you give back from the things that you did, right? And because in the hero's journey, it's about a warrior. It's about this rediscovery that you were the one that destroyed the worlds around you. You brought everything on fire, and now you become the healer of your own world. And so that's atonement, where you're right, but you're not doing it from because atonement is just the language that was used by Joseph Campbell. But let me explain to you what it really means is that there are people that say, you know what, we've suffered for so long, and my forefathers were slaves, and my forefathers were persecuted in the Spanish, da 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 da, and this, that, and the other. And, that's out of a need to be equalized, to be validated. That's not atonement. Atonement is when you speak from a place of love and you go, you know what? I want to elevate the world. If that makes any sense, right? So it's 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 written that way because that's what at the time. But the atonement I'm talking about that changes the world, that causes people to frequency with you, that is it. And Destin, you've raised your hand.
Yeah, so she also said, is it like forgiveness? And I think the a better word to fit for the way that that feels is integration. I think it's less about just forgiveness and an essence of like getting over what you've gone through, but bringing it all together and not just mixing all the cake ingredients in the bowl, but putting it in the oven and taking it out after the right time. Not being undercooked, not being burned. It's the finish mint.
Beautiful. Well said. Thank you. Because that's exactly it. It's integration. Integration is very different than just kind of getting it up in your head, right? You got it has to be an integrity of your heart and your mind. And when you integrate it, you become it rather than just something that you turn on and turn off, a shirt that you take off and put on. So thank you, Destin. That was perfect. Any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions, by the way, I want to say that forgiveness is an important part, but that you have to heal within you internally. And you got to forgive that child. You got to forgive what happened. Forgiveness is a lot of people walk around with forgiveness, but they don't accept themselves. That is integration. That's where the difference is. Yeah, embodiment. Yeah.
Self-forgiveness. Not just
Self-forgiveness.
most of the time forgiveness is used for other people, like, oh, I can dismiss what you did, but then we hold ourselves to a higher standard and then we're like, oh, but I it's all my fault. I I'm just the worst person. All of this is my responsibility. I better change for your problem instead of I forgive myself. Like I'm actually accepting what happened and I'm sometimes I can't improve that. Sometimes it already happened and it's like I just got to get over it.
You know,
Self-forgiveness is probably the best word to
it,
use.
it is, and I love this piece right here. It is that um, acceptance and love is different than forgiveness because you can forgive but not forget, and you haven't yet atoned. You have not yet changed it and transmutated into something that can become a gift. That's a bigger difference, right? So, yeah, I forgive myself, but I still will have not accepted me. So there's a lot of people who are still that way, right? And they're coaches and they're healers and they're this and they're walking around with the wounded healer syndrome. Okay, that's the difference. It is an embodiment. And An understanding that you couldn't have changed it, didn't know better. It is self-love. Yeah, it's loving yourself, being the object of love, like a little child. Right? For those of us that have had children, you would do so much for that child. Would you do the same thing to you? Would you care for your soul with such tenderness and babiness and cute and I love you and you're the beautiful? Would you do that to you? Have you done it to you? Um, I'll close with this story, and this is a true story. I was 55 years old, and I was with my third wife. Okay, and I was standing looking at the mirror, and as habit, right, I look at all my muscles because of, of being, not because I absolutely love to look at that, but because when you're a martial artist, when you've recovered from being paralyzed, I just analyze my body like, okay, is there anything missing? Are we tweaking? Are we right? And I just go through this whole process of self-analysis. And I was lost in that moment when she says, "You're a beautiful man." And it hit me like somebody had just shot me. I'm like, what? I'd never heard those words and accepted them about me. That's the difference. I can say it to my children. I could say it to a woman. I can, right? But I couldn't accept them about me. That's that's the best way I can answer that question. So with that being said, I don't have nothing else at the moment. I hope everybody signed up. I want to give you something that will really tune how you're talking to your clients so that you can start seeing the changes and you'll see that better quality of people start coming into your life. So thank you for being here. It's truly an honor.
Let's make sure not to quite end it until we know that everyone who wants to book using the link has done that, or at least copied it over to another tab before we close the call.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Okay, booked. Got it.
I've booked.
Booked. Okay. Thank you so much.
Does anyone else want to book and hasn't quite yet?
By the way, that is a limited
Okay.
offer. It's not going to be there forever until everybody next week gets the replay. And then after that, that offer will no longer be available, right? So I want to give those people that said, I can't make it there, but can you send me the replay? And at that point, windows are shut down. Any last words? Anybody want to share anything?
Lorraine says she hasn't because of the time differences.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that can be kind of consolidated, if we can work with that or figure
Absolutely.
something out.
I'll reach out during DMs and then we can find out what's a good time.
Cool.
Figure a way. Thank you.
Sweet. Well, it was nice to serve you guys.
Absolutely.
you guys for being
if I may
here.
just quickly say, it's 1:33 a.m. and that's how much value I knew I'd be getting today. I'm still up in the UK, 1:33 a.m. in the morning.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Appreciate you guys.
So that you get the, I know you hopefully got the value worth.
Oh no, definitely. That's why I'm up. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right. All right. Take care, guys
Much love, guys.
and gals. Thank you so much.
Peace.
All right. Catch up later
Mhm.
on the phone.